It's late August and Christian and I are back in the delightful Mediterranean island of Mallorca for yet another cultural experience. Well, a lot of reading and relaxing, plus a bit of cultural experience. This time we are taking in the 3 P's: Pine Walks, Piety and Pandora, more of which later. Staying once again in the resort of Cala Bona on the east coast of the island, a lazy coach ride to the island's northwest brings us to the pretty town of Puerto Pollença and its pine-scented path that follows the shoreline along the bay. Tourists have been coming to Puerto Pollença since the 1920s, and the hotels on the seafront still retain an old-fashioned air, having been built long before the concrete boom of the 1960s. The Pine Walk offers a lovely scenic promenade along the waterfront and has a quiet beach to relax in the sunshine during the day. The quiet and calm waves of the bay gently roll onto the soft sand beaches that stretch about 1 kilometre along the quietest part of the town.
Can I have my camera in your
There are many holiday apartments along the Pine Walk, and they offer some fantastic views across the bay. But the most stunning is the backdrop of the Tramuntana Mountains, which can be seen from all over the town. Of course, too much culture can become a bit tiring, so what better than to wander over to the next village and have a look at the market to see if there are any bargains to be had. The next village is Son Severa, just a short taxi ride away. But with the temperature in the 80s, the first thing needed is a refreshing drink. Well, would you believe that whilst I'm enjoying a pleasant San Miguel or 3, Christine has spotted at very reduced prices a range of Pandora paraphernalia, and just can't wait to spend a bit of hard-earned cash on said jewellery. For me, the San Miguel is slightly more tempting. Valdemossa is famous for one landmark, the Royal Charter House of Valdemossa, built at the beginning of the 14th century. In the 1830s, the Spanish government confiscated monasteries, and the historic estate was sold to private owners, who have since hosted some prominent guests. These have included the Polish composer Frédéric Chopin and his lover, the pioneering French writer George Sand. In 1956, British composer Joseph Horowitz visited the island with his wife Anna on their honeymoon, and later named a clarinet piece based on the Spanish folk tunes he had heard there after the village. But it is Chopin and George Sand that have gone down in local folklore. The significance of the tale is tied closely to the peace and tranquility of the island as a means of improving both body and mind, and every visit is accompanied by a 15-minute long Chopin piano concert. See, I told you we were going all cultural. The Palma de Mallorca Cathedral, or La Seu as it is known in Mallorca, is the jewel in the crown of Mallorcan architecture. Apart from being one of the most famous Gothic buildings in Europe, it represents Mallorca and is a symbol of the whole of the Balearic archipelago. It is considered one of the most magnificent buildings ever built and encompasses almost all artistic styles since the Middle Ages. It has its origins in the very beginnings of the Christian takeover of the island, back in the 13th century. In the summer of 1229, King James I and his men sailed to the island to defeat the Arabs, and it was on this crossing that the seed of the cathedral was sown. He was lucky. Not only did he arrive safely, but he also defeated the Arabs. And as a God-fearing Christian, he did not forget his promise and quickly set about putting into practice his oath. The decision for the site was obvious. The Muslims were already using the perfect position for their mosque. So, by raising the mosque and constructing a house of God on its foundations, King James knew he would be highlighting the victory of Christianity over Islam. However, in doing so, he would also create one of the great all-time historical paradoxes. Anyone kneeling at the altar in Majorca's cathedral does so in the direction of Mecca, like a Muslim, not, as should be the case for a Christian, towards Jerusalem. The architect who designed the three-aisle church with its 24 vaulted sections was Jean Mates, son of the master Pere Mates, who also worked on the Majorca Cathedral, sourcing the best Majorcan sandstone. Jean Mates was extremely ambitious in his design and aimed to create columns so fine that the roof would appear to defy gravity itself. The weight, however, was greater than he had anticipated, and the first two columns tested threatened to collapse immediately. They were left with no choice but to widen their diameter. Nevertheless, in relation to their height, they are still among the slimmest load-bearing columns in the world today. Designed in the Catalan Gothic style, but with Northern European influences, it was built from the local limestone that has a golden glow at sunset. In 1601, the Bishop Jean Vichy Manrique blessed the main doorway, which was dedicated to the Virgin. The construction of the entire cathedral had lasted 3 centuries. It sits within the old city of Parma, atop the former citadel of the Roman city, between the royal palace of La Almudena and the episcopal palace, and overlooking the Parc de la Mar and the Mediterranean Sea. Le Sceau is to cathedrals what Picasso is to painting: bold, eye-catching and thoroughly Spanish. End of cultural bit, and back to relaxing and sampling the local tipple at the bar on the headland back at our resort. So another fortnight comes and goes, and all we are left with are the memories. Oh, and the Pandora bits. With an alleged 300 days of sunshine and sandy beaches large and small, this is an island that is full of charm, quaintness and history, plus an abundance of friendly natives too. Our hotel is very comfortable and the seashore promenade excellent for strolling along after a pleasant and relaxing evening meal, with probably one of the best sea views in the Mediterranean. So, where to next year? Well, it could just be a return to Majorca.